Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is awesome! This is awesome!
Hello and welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. We've celebrated recently our 1 year anniversary. It was our birthday on the 8th of August 2019, and yeah, it was go and check out the channel. There's a couple of things on there. Our very first video I've reposted on the social medias, and a new advert for the channel. Go and check that out. Features lots of independent wrestlers right here in the British Isles. The reason I think that British wrestling is still alive, and there was lots more that I could have included that I didn't have the videos for at the time. So yeah, go and check that out. We appreciate you being the Cheap Shot Nation, and we appreciate you carrying on watching and supporting us throughout the past year. We hope you'll still be with us by next year. Hopefully we'll have doubled our subscriptions. We're on 210 roughly. Let's get to 420 by next year, and only you can do that, guys, by sharing us with your friends, telling your friends, doing whatever, and just clicking like on the videos and doing all that kind of stuff. Join us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and don't forget the blogspot. That's cheapshotentertainment.blogspot.com. I've been saying .co.uk, it is .com. And there's a link there to the t-shirt shop as well. Buy the merch and it helps us out a little bit financially. So yeah, this video is NXT UK episode number 55, I believe. It was at the Plymouth Pavilions. It was released on the 7th of August 2019 on the network, and yeah, it was a decent show actually. It tends to go hot and cold with NXT UK, but like again say, we're going into NXT Takeover Cardiff, so you're going to expect a lot of things to happen, matches being made. We've got quite a few of the matches, and yeah, just need the filler matches, and you expect there to be a tag team match. There's already a women's title match and a UK Championship match scheduled for that event. Anyway, join us for everything that happened at NXT UK number 55. So we start the show with a fitting tribute to the legend known as Harley Race, who sadly passed away this week. Our thoughts and go out to his family and friends at this time. He was an absolute legend, and I've never heard a bad word said about him. Even old school wrestlers and new school wrestlers love him to bits. Like I say, was the very first King of the Ring, and he was named King Harley Race. He was also known as Handsome Harley Race in WWE as well. But yeah, sad to see another legend taken from us. But we go straight into the action with Noam Dar and Ashton Smith. Incidentally, we went to Soccer Spandex. Ashton Smith was there playing football, of all things. A lot of talk about potential in this match, or during this match, and that potential never quite being reached by Ashton Smith. He's been around since day one pretty much, and since day one of NXT UK anyway, in terms of TV tapings, but he's always fallen short, and I always feel like he's on the cusp, and he never really gets much of a look in, really. Maybe that's the way they're booking him. Obviously they've got Noam Dar on the books now. Apparently he is exclusively NXT UK, and yeah, he's going against Ashton Smith. Didn't really have a chance of winning here, and it was Noam Dar that would pick up the victory. Dar was in full control for most of this match. Smith does get a small comeback towards the end, tries a high-flying leg lariat off the second turnbuckle, completely misses, crash and burn. Dar gets out of the way, and Dar hits the Nova Roller for the win. Your winner in this first contest, sound contest, bit of a squash, is Noam Dar. So he says, he gets on the mic then, he gets an interview with Radzi, and he says he is guaranteed his spot in Cardiff. But we later on find out that this is definitely not the case. The grizzled young veterans make their way down to the ring. Liverpool's number one and James Drake. The titles will stay grizzled until NXT Cardiff. They talk about Gallus and how they're petitioning to get a tag team title shot, and I'd sign that petition if they were petitioning, but they've never petitioned, they've never complained. They just said, we've been in it since day one, let's have a title shot. I think they're good for it, to be honest. And Gallus come down and say exactly the same thing. At that point we get Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews coming down to the ring. Now Flash Morgan Webster has been injured. Mark Andrews has had a couple of matches on NXT UK, showing how good he is in the ring in singles competition. We haven't seen a lot of his tag team, the South Wales Connection, something like that. We haven't seen much of that tag team recently. I don't think that I'd quite welcome a triple threat match, maybe even a triple threat ladder match, make it interesting. But them just coming out and interrupting, no, don't like that. I think it should be Gallus versus the Grizzle Young Veterans, one-on-one in tag team action. But if they introduce Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews, then I wouldn't complain at that either. Yeah, they all go to Johnny Saint, and basically no one's guaranteed a spot at NXT TakeOver Cardiff. That's what he says, although they just sort of disappear into a room, and then doesn't look like there's anybody in there. They come out rather quickly, yeah. But the titles at this point will stay grizzled. And like I say, no one gets something for free on NXT UK, which is what I really like about NXT. So we get a tag team match next. It is the women's division in action. It is Ginny and her hired bodyguard Jazzy Gabbert versus Xia Brookside and Piper Niven. So these two teams very evenly matched. You've got the two short in stature ladies, and then the two bigger ones, the two Hoss ladies. But this match very even in the early stages, very enjoyable to watch as well. It's good to see that the women's division in NXT UK is getting a shout. But halfway through, about halfway, 3/4 of the way through the match, Rhea Ripley comes down the ramp. This distracts Piper Niven. Of course, her bad blood with Rhea Ripley going much deeper than our tag team partnership with Xia Brookside. She ends up fighting with Rhea Ripley up the ramp and into the back, and this leaves Xia Brookside on her own to carry the match for her team. She does a fantastic job of this. Obviously they're quite high on Xia Brookside. She still keeps losing, but she shows a lot of fight, and she fights to the bitter end in this match. She hits a code breaker. Gabbert hits a code breaker on Ginny, has full control, hits a flying crossbody and all that kind of stuff, but it would be Jazzy Gabbert who would get a blind tag eventually, as Xia Brookside had Ginny up on her shoulders, lost a bit of balance and went into that corner. Gabbert would be in, and she would hit a Dominator on Xia Brookside for the win. Don't know where this is going to go between Xia Brookside and Piper Niven, but I'd be interested to see that. Obviously, I want to see Rhea Ripley and Piper Niven have a proper match, a blow off from their feud that's been going on now for a couple of months. We now have a look at the competitors in the Women's Championship match at NXT TakeOver Cardiff, and it's basically the same package as we saw last week, so I'm not going to bother going through that. Dragunov is conducting an interview. Obviously the lights are out, he's got his contact lenses in, and none other than KO comes in. Cassius Ohno puts on the lights, he says, "Sorry dude, it's Dragunov." I really like this Cassius Ohno, he's funny. And he's interrupted by Cassius Ohno. But one thing I really picked up from this is that Ilya Dragunov really needs to do some yoga. He is intense beyond intense. I thought his eyeballs were going to pop out of his socket just at someone switching the light on. And I thought that was down to Daniel Bryan to be the saviour of the earth. But yeah, he really needs to do some yoga and some breathing exercises, man. Anyway, we go into the main event now. Two big hosses just beating the hell out of each other. Joe Coffey and Bomber Dave Mastiff, two of my favourites in NXT UK, along with Eddie Dennis, who is sadly on the shelf at the moment. He's had his surgery and obviously looking at least making an appearance at NXT TakeOver Cardiff. But Mastiff, that was very even to start with. They both run into each other like baby bulls. They're like, I'm going to knock you down. No, I'm going to knock you down. They both end up doing that. Early on, Coffey goes to the top. Bomber Dave Mastiff tries a German suplex. That doesn't work. They go to a different corner. Bomber tries another German suplex. Coffey has got his grip on the turnbuckle cover. He rips that off, hits the German suplex, and obviously leaves the turnbuckle exposed. And this would play into the next part of the match, as Joe Coffey would head towards that corner, feigning that he was almost out. Bomber Dave Mastiff runs into it, hits his ribs on the exposed turnbuckle, and that gives Coffey an opening. Like a shark smelling blood in the water, he goes after Dave Mastiff's ribs at this point and pretty much controls a lot of the match at this point. But it wouldn't be until Dave Mastiff would have a little bit of a comeback, starts hitting, starts throwing some punches, trying to keep Joe Coffey at distance. He then hits a big swinging forearm to the side of Joe Coffey's head, hitting his ear, and if you've ever been had a football kick to your head or something like that, in your ears, quite sensitive, and it can throw your balance off. So that is then the focus of Dave Mastiff. It looks like Joe Coffey has a little bit of blood coming from somewhere, I'm not sure where, and this doesn't stop Bomber. He goes in for the elbows to the side of the head. The referee's got the gloves on. He has to think about whether he's going to stop this match or not. Bomber Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey roll to the outside. This is where Dave Mastiff would hit another forearm with Joe Coffey's head going into the post on one side and the forearm going around the other side of the head. This would throw Joe Coffey completely off. They would go back in the ring. They would fight back onto the apron. And this is where Joe Coffey would hit the Glasgow send-off, spear, headfirst spear into the post on Dave Mastiff. Both would roll out of the ring. Both guys at this point had absolutely decimated each other. They could not stand up. The referee starts counting. They crawl around the ring towards the entrance ramp, and basically they both get counted out. We get an indecisive, unconclusive finish to this one. Expect there to be some blow off to this match. But it reminds me a lot of when Bomber Dave Mastiff went against Eddie Dennis, the first Takeover UK event in Blackpool, where they beat the tar out of each other, and basically they had a double count out and then had a blow off match at Takeover. And I would like to see that. I think Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which has been proved to be quite popular on NXT UK, would be fantastic. But yeah, inconclusive finish. Bomber Dave Mastiff goes, "Go on then." It's like outside a pub in Derby. It's like, come on then. And he's like, "Go on, Joe." And Gallus come down. They take Joe Coffey to the back, obviously seeing that their leader is not in any capable state to fight. And ironically, Bomber Dave Mastiff gets held back by two scrawny referees, which is, not for me to question, but I thought that was quite funny. And that's how we go off the air. Both separated. NXT goes off the air, and I would say this is at least a 3.5 star show. 3.5 bombs out of 5. Good storytelling in the final match. Good wrestling as well. Although I say good wrestling, it wasn't really a wrestling match. There wasn't many drop toe holds as they were. It wasn't catch as catch can style. It was just two guys beating the tar out of each other. I quite like that. It's quite fun. So that is everything that happened at NXT UK number 55. And so that is it for, shall we say, season 2 of Cheap Shot Entertainment. I'm off on holiday for a week. Obviously, this video, as you watch it, will be released on the normal day of a Tuesday, the day before the release of the next episode on the network. Like I say, I'm on holiday for the next week, so I don't plan. I might do a bit of social medias, but no videos will be made during the next week. They will be released in the next week to keep you guys going, but apart from that, there'll be nothing for at least a couple of weeks now. So hope you've enjoyed season 2 and season 1, and come back for more in season 3. Now, I don't really specify that these are seasons, just having breaks in between, really. There's no definitive time difference, but yeah, NXT UK number 55 was a decent show, to be fair, and good in building up what's to come at the end of this month. Now, we've got quite a few matches being set up, so there's plenty of time for them to build, and I like that. I think that is a good plan. Just got to do some filler matches, and I've got a couple of ideas in mind for that, but it's ultimately not my decision. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, we're glad you got all the way to the end. Give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to know when we upload new content to the channel. Don't forget to hit us up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and go over to our Blogspot site, which is cheapshotentertainment.blogspot.com, and there's a link there to the t-shirt shop, so you can get yourself a little bit of merch. A little bit comes back to us. It helps us out tremendously and feeds the channel and lets us carry on, continue the revolution of British wrestling. British wrestling is far from dead. A lot of people were saying that on social media, that it is dead because of NXT UK. Defiant Wrestling closed its doors, yeah, it's not. You just have to look a bit harder. There's loads of talent around, loads. You've just got to go out and find it, and that's my challenge to you guys in the next 2 weeks. Go out and find a wrestling show that you've never seen before. Go and do it. It'll be completely worth it. Don't let your kids, your children, grow up thinking that wrestling, professional wrestling, wrestling entertainment, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, it's just a TV show. Don't let them grow up thinking they need to spend £25 on a t-shirt or 50 quid to get to a show. You can go and you can do it, and you can watch really good wrestling for £5. So go and find some wrestling in your local area and support your local wrestling organisations. And that is coming straight from Cheap Shot Entertainment. Join the revolution. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I've been your host, Luke, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for season 3 of Cheap Shot Entertainment. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. We love you guys to bits, and we'll say goodbye. Goodbye.